Good evening, ladies and sinners. Welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson, and we're back at it again, folks. Get at us on our social, Twitter social, at SinCity_IESR. Get at me on my personal, at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports and definitely focus on that wonderful, wonderful sport of football. If you guys get a chance, make sure you guys check out 3 and Out College Football Edition. We did a live show on Sunday. It was kind of a random one. Ended up going about an hour and a half with Taryn Rodriguez, host of SoCal Sports, and well, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Larry B., who's host of 3 and Out, along with Taryn, as well as the defining moment. I mean, it was a fun show. We talked about the CFB. We had reactions to the CFB. The way the playoff turned out, we talked about the new head coaches that are coming into play, and a little bit of smack between myself and Taryn because, you know, he's a Chargers fan, I'm a Raiders fan. Only one team has actually had a good franchise at one point or another, and it definitely wasn't the Chargers. Oh my gosh. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. But that show was a lot of fun, guys. Make sure you guys get a chance to tune into 3 and Out College Edition, Sunday evenings edition, or Sunday's edition, because that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun, man. We did a great job. We did a great job as a team, and I hope we can do more collabs like that, because I'm telling you right now, guys, there was something really special there. Everybody had great input, and what you got out of all of that was we just have a great time. We love football, man. We love football. Yep. Taryn, I tried calling the Chargers. I got 0 rings. I'll let that one hang a little bit. Anyway, we're going to talk about UNLV today, guys. The coaching search is over. They have a brand new coach. We got to love it. We got to talk about it. Maybe we don't love it. There's actually a lot of folks on Twitter that just did not want Marcus Arroyo to be let go yet. So we'll talk about that. We'll dive into that. Golden Knights are still killing it. 19-7-1, 39 points in the Western Conference Pacific Division. They have a 6-point lead. It's crazy. And then we're going to go into the Raiders. You guys know how we do. It's Victory Tuesday here on IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, when we get back. And welcome back, folks, to the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, the 39th episode. Sorry, the 37th episode of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, the post-CFB Sports Show. We're going to talk a little bit about that, too. We should. Why shouldn't we, right? Why shouldn't we talk about the CFB? It's huge. College football playoff. Why shouldn't we talk about that? We're going to definitely get in there. Taryn chimes into the show. We love Taryn. Taryn, again, is the host of the SoCal Sports Show. He's also our big-time resident in the volleyball world, man. He was the one that let me know that the Las Vegas Ramblers were the National Volleyball Association champions, and we got to love his spirit, man, because I don't know how he does it, but the man knows his volleyball at all divisions, and it's very impressive. Taryn chimes in and says, good evening, show. Good evening, Cale. Have a great show. Thanks, man. You're always an amazing teammate. Said we were awesome on Sunday. I thought we were great on Sunday, Taryn. It was an awesome show. Epic, great idea. Honestly, man, it just kind of came to my mind. I'm like, I was just super jacked. It was a great weekend of football, and I knew as soon as I brought it to Larry, like, hey, let's do a show. I didn't think any of you guys were going to say no. Adam chimes in. Howdy, Cale. How are things in the desert? Well, I'm not in the desert. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, for those who don't know, but I'm an avid Raiders fan, obsessive Raiders fan. I've been a Raiders fan my whole life, and that's the big reason why Larry B. reached out, other than I had past history. I used to run the neutral zone with Nico Green back in the day. I did it for about 1.5 years or so, and that was a lot of fun. I had to take a step away because I had a job. I had a job change. And, you know, Larry was like, oh, dude, the Raiders are in Vegas. I'm looking for a Vegas show. I don't know if there's anybody more perfect than you. I basically just said, hey, dude, that's really sweet of you. Let's do this. Taryn says, shake my head. You had to use the ring joke. I'm sorry, man. It is what it is. Taryn, I don't know if you've had a chance, man. Do you follow Sean Merriman? Because he is obnoxious. He's what brings this. You know, I mean, you're such a classy Chargers fan. That dude is absolutely obnoxious. He was an amazing player. He had his heyday, but he was one of those guys that was part of a team that, like, they just couldn't get it done when it mattered most. That dude's living so much off his fame, it's not even funny. But, man, he was talking all mad crap all week and was like, hey, man, these Raiders fans are quiet this year. quiet. Raiders beat you guys. Now he's just like crying, whatever, pass interference this, pass interference that. Ridiculous. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, Adam, things in the desert seem like they're fine. I actually talked to somebody today at my job who's living in Arizona. They were saying it's like 65 degrees today. Good for them. Rub it in my face. It's like 30 degrees in Nebraska, so great. I mean, a couple hour things in the green flatland then. Oh, amazing. Amazing. Safest place in the world, man. Safest place to live in the world, in the United States. I love it. I don't have to worry about hurricanes. I don't have to worry about, well, I'm not going to say that. Uh, it's just safe. It's a great place to have a job, relationship, family. Cost of living isn't that bad. Yeah, it's great over here, man. But always keeping up to date with the Las Vegas sports scene. Um, Terrence said, I know you lived in Nebraska. I remember the neutral zone with you. Buddy, let me tell you, dude, that dude is hilarious, man. He wasn't able to get on the show a ton because of his family. The dude's definitely a family man, but man, he had gems. I honestly, man, I just narrated the show. That dude brought all the material, and that's a fact. Nico Green was the man, the myth, the legend himself. UNLV, folks, UNLV, the coaching search is over. The coaching search is over, and it's not who you think it was, and it's not who I thought it was going to be. And you know what? I I don't I don't quite know how to react to this because I have mixed feelings. But we'll touch on those feelings when we get back from a quick sponsor read. Yeah, you folks heard me. A quick sponsor read. For the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help. We are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shoutouts on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, hosted by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Larry B. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. So yes, folks, I said it. You guys heard it here. You're not going to hear it here first. Make sure you guys check out the Las Vegas Review Journal. I think they do a great job over there. Andy Yamashita reported this. The coaching search is over. Devoid all the leaks, and this is, I quote from his article today, a coaching search devoid of leaks that kept the media, UNLV fans, guessing resulted Tuesday in the hiring of Barry Odom as the program's 13th football coach. He succeeds Marcus Arroyo, who was fired on November 28th. So here's the deal. We heard all kinds of names, man. Just yesterday, we were hearing that Chris Peterson, former head coach of Washington, Boise State, those guys apparently, debunked that and said, they weren't necessarily interested. They listened to a call, but it wasn't anything that really materialized. We heard things about Kevin Sumlin, who I honestly wasn't against because I think he's a recruiting powerhouse when he tries to recruit, and he knows the desert area because of Arizona. It's a bit smaller than Arizona. Probably UNLV could probably beat Arizona because they're so bad. Man, the Pac-12 is horrible. Dude, not for long though. Dion, we're going to touch base on that a little bit too. UNLV, I think they had a pretty extensive coaching search from what I heard. Lots of names that were rumored, but they land on Barry Odom. And here's the thing. If you look at UNLV's teams the last 3 years under Coach Arroyo, what was the biggest issue for those teams? It was likely the defense, right? The defense just was horrible. I think the offense, they had a stretch where they were putting up 40 points a game this season, before the injuries took place, of course, with Brumfield. I'll say it like this. If you don't have a defense, man, you're not going to win football games. Ask Derek Carr, the most underappreciated quarterback in NFL history, probably. That dude has never had a defense better than 20th, ranked 20th. Honestly, that was a fluke year in 2016 when Khalil Mack was going off. Bruce Irvin was out there on the edge helping. Charles Woodson had just left, so I can't include him. Regardless, that was a fluke year. Every other year, the Raiders' defense with Derek Carr at the quarterback position, 24th or worst. Lots of talent, talented quarterback, talented player, but it means nothing if you don't have a defense, man. If you can't keep points off the board, it means nothing. I think it was a weakness, and I think UNLV said, okay, we want to go after somebody with Power 5 coaching experience. Okay, let's put it like this. He was the head coach at Missouri from 2016 to 2019. Let's examine Missouri football record. This year was not very good at all. Horrible, actually. In 2016, Missouri was 2-6. Yikes. 2017, Missouri was 7-6. So massive improvement. 4-3 at home, 3-2 away. That's great. Missouri in the SEC is still really tough to get used to. I think they're still a Big 12 team, to be honest with you, but I kind of get it. They're part of that pipeline. 2018, Missouri was 8-5, and in 2019, 6-6. So mediocrity, but you're also in the SEC East. Georgia was coming along there. Florida was still good because, believe it or not, guys. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. I'm very sorry about that. But the head coach they had there had Florida going to the SEC title game before Kirby Smart took over Georgia and started really turning that thing around. So he's got SEC experience. He has experience recruiting athletes in the Southeastern Conference. But he's a defensive savant, and he was at Arkansas the last few years. And Arkansas's defense is honestly a pretty good defense, man. They were able to put out some good players in the NFL. With that said, UNLV thought that this was the guy to go with. I don't necessarily agree with it. I personally thought that if there was any word to Chris Peterson, if there was any word to Ed Orgeron, I thought they would do a great job here. It would actually be a much easier job for them here than what it would have been in other places. Because, again, you have the facilities here. I think there's a huge draw that people aren't really realizing. I think these are underrated facilities. You spent $40 million just to build a football facility for this football team. Not to mention you're sharing a wing of an excellent stadium in the Allegiant Stadium. There's stuff to attract, man, and you're in Vegas. You're in Vegas. You know it's going to be warm year-round or hot year-round. Not to mention you're on the Strip. Okay? Always something to do. I just don't understand how UNLV can't recruit a little bit better. So maybe they need to go after somebody who knows how to recruit more. Barry Odom is known to recruit pretty well. Honestly, he's been known to recruit very well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see what happens. According to Harper, UNLV stated that he is unanimously well respected around the country and is the right person at the right time for the Rebels program. This department of the university continued to ascend as parts of sports entertainment capital of the world here in Las Vegas. I don't know if they were listening to our show and stole that from us, guys, because I've been saying this is the fastest growing sports market for months now. We didn't say that, so maybe they didn't steal anything. Regardless, it is Win City now, according to Mark Davis. He applied for the patent. He was approved for it, and right now they've won 3 straight. We'll cover that later. I don't know, guys. I'm not really a fan of this hire. I think they could have done better. I like the Kevin Sumlin idea. I really do. I thought Kevin Sumlin would have been a great hire. What I'm worried about, guys, and tell me if I'm crazy. Tell me if I'm crazy. What I'm worried about is that there wasn't really interest in this program. And maybe there was a little bit of buyer's remorse or fire's remorse, right? For moving on from Marcus Arroyo, who's actually starting to see improvement in this team. You know, from a COVID year where he couldn't really recruit at all to the following year, won a few games. Last year, 5-7, there was definitely progress. And if it wasn't for some injuries, I honestly thought that this was an 8-4 team. We'll see what happens. But the transfer portal is wild, man. I just don't know how coaches of Group of 5, new incoming coaches, can come in without taking advantage of that portal. And I hope Coach Odom does that. I hope he does it in a really good fashion, efficient fashion, because there are coaches out there that will do a kick-ass job. Speaking of that, congratulations to Deion Sanders for being hired as the head football coach at Colorado. I think it's huge. I'll say it like this, man. I had some thoughts on that situation. We talked about it Sunday on the 3 and Out college football edition. It was like that primetime special, reacting to the college football playoff choices. Simply put, I think Deion was the best coach on the market, and I say it like this: not necessarily the best football coach on the market, but he was the show. He's what's going to bring athletes your way. Since Deion's been hired, he's had a couple 5 stars commit, right? Future 5 stars for that matter. His boy Shedeur Sanders will be following, and Travis Hunter, the #1 athlete from last year, 5-star cornerback, he will be going to Colorado. So 3 guys who are all ballers, and I promise you guys, if Sanders really picks up on the speed of college football, he's probably going to be a top pick in the NFL draft in a couple of years. Not after next year. He's going to need a year to adjust to the speed, but after that, it wouldn't surprise me if kid goes for 40 touchdowns his senior year. No joke. When you watch him, he makes throws that a lot of quarterbacks struggle to make. And he has excellent pocket presence. He knows when to take off and run. I think his son is going to have a ton of talent around him. I think you have guys entering the transfer portal you wouldn't have seen enter the transfer portal before. I mean, you have guys who are 5 stars at Alabama, freshmen who had meaningful reps entering the transfer portal now. It's just incredible what's happening. Absolutely incredible. It's free agency, but you're basically paying these players with the NIL money. You have a budget. It's almost like it's a salary cap, and you're trying to get these best players. But there are players, and this is just a report I heard. I heard it on CBS Sports. Joel Klatt was talking about it. Deion's had over 200 athletes reach out to him, 4 and 5-star athletes. Over 200 of them have reached out. What that tells me is Deion Sanders is going to need to be smart. He's going to need to worry about the fit. Is that kid the right fit for this program? But if this is true and he can legitimately just pick out 40 or 50 of the best players that he wants to come, and they don't have to worry about getting a ton of NIL money, they're going there to get to the NFL to get noticed because of Prime's. Well, I mean, look at his social media presence. The guy basically has a documentary following him around at all times. His son. I don't know. Like, that's the place to be right now. I can't blame kids for wanting to go play for Prime when you hear him talk. So there's that, man. I'm really excited for Colorado. I don't know if Colorado deserves it because they have some of the worst fans in college football. But good for the program, man. They've been horrible. Horrible for years. They've been a lot like Nebraska. They haven't been relevant in a long time. Now you have a guy that's going to go out and he's going to take advantage of it. There's going to be players there. And here's the thing. I hope Deion is smart about it. I know he's a good football guy. He was one of the greatest athletes that's ever lived. But be smart, man. If you don't know how to coach this kid or that scheme, hire somebody to do it. You just need to be the face of the program. You don't have to do all the coaching. So I hope he hires on an epic staff. Rumors are he's hiring Sean Lewis from Kent State, which is excellent. When you look at their statistics, they're a very efficient offense, year in and year out. They were actually last year, I think they were second in offensive efficiency to Alabama, believe it or not. Efficiency. What that means is, and when I say efficiency, that means their offense on 3rd and 2 would get 3 yards consistently. More efficiently than any other team in the country with the exception of Alabama. Their offensive efficiency, Kent State's, was awesome. They ran a lot of power read, their spread. And obviously, being at Kent State, playing Alcorn, likely playing Jackson State, Deion got a really close look at that offense, maybe admired it, and brought him over. I think that was a good hire. There are rumors that he may land Mike Zimmer as his defensive coordinator. There are rumors that Deion Sanders may land Mike Zimmer as his defensive coordinator, which would be absolutely phenomenal. If you're a defensive player out there in the transfer portal or a recruit, and you know that you could go to Colorado, where Mike Zimmer, former head coach of the Vikings, and well-renowned defensive play caller who runs that double A gap 4-3 defense that has wreaked havoc for years in the NFL, no matter where he's been, Cincinnati, Minnesota. That guy has an eye for NFL talent. Are you going to tell me that you wouldn't go play for that football team under Deion Sanders, under Mike Zimmer? They're going to rebuild this program in no time at all. And Willie Taggart has been rumored to have already signed on to be a coach there, an assistant coach for that matter, offensive assistant, maybe even assistant head coach. But regardless, Willie Taggart's a huge get too because he's an excellent recruiter. He knows the Florida State area. He knows the Oregon area. He understands the Pac-12. He was at Oregon for a year before bailing to Florida State. Guys, Deion's doing some crazy things. Adam said, Neon Deion better be a good recruiter. How long do you suppose kids will go for just the name recognition? I mean, in general, as long as he's there and as long as the content is pouring in and he has the ability to show their names no matter what they're doing program-wide, he's going to get recruits. And what I can tell you right now with the way the transfer portal worked last year for USC, Deion Sanders is a way bigger name than Lincoln Riley. Again, we're talking about prime-time Deion Sanders, probably the greatest cornerback to ever play football. One of the better athletes. The dude played pro baseball for a while, okay? And he actually played really well. Speed, charisma, everything. I would run through a wall for that guy. And that brings me to my next topic before we move on to more Vegas stuff, right? I bring this up because it could be relevant. There's rumors that UNLV could go to Pac-12. There's rumors UNLV could be the Big 12, right? Sounds like Colorado might be taking a trip back to the Big 12, which is a great idea. I say this. Deion Sanders had a speech, and of course only parts of the speech are played because that's what media does. They cherry pick, right? Talking about, oh, I'm coming. If you guys aren't sure you want to be here, you better enter the transfer portal now because when I get back, I'm coming. The 1-11 stuff isn't acceptable anymore. I'm coming. You got to understand where Deion's coming from. He literally just got done with Jackson State, where he basically had to give up half of his salary to ensure that remodeling of the facilities at Jackson State were getting done. He had to exhaust his resources as a human being, someone who's built a platform. He reached out to Under Armour. They had more uniforms. It was said by Shannon Sharp on his show with Skip Bayless that Jackson State had more uniform designs in the last couple years, only second to Oregon. And then on top of that, he reached out to his buddy Michael Strahan, who was willing to donate suits to those kids. Deion kicked ass for that school. He understands how much it was a struggle to get resources for that school. He shows up to Colorado where they've spent almost $300 million on brand new locker room and practice field facilities, things like that. Honestly, when you guys look at their stadium, it looks like it's just made out of sandstone and granite, the whole thing. It's beautiful. The only problem they have there is that field. It looks disgusting. It looks worn out. It looks old. But regardless, like, that town is stunning. And what he was saying in that speech to that team is the days of them taking those resources for granted because of where he came from, and they don't quite understand where he came from, it was over. And if they can't understand that, enter the transfer portal, because I'm going to bring dudes that want to be here. I'm going to bring dudes that want the attention. I'm going to bring dudes that want to use the resources to their advantage to make things better, make Colorado look better. The 1-11 mess, that's not just on the coaches, that's on the players too. The coaches can't play for the players. 1-11 is sorry, man. Unacceptable. That's what Deion's trying to say. And what he's trying to say is if you're okay with that, I'll kick you 3 stars to the curb, because that's pretty much all Colorado's been able to get the last few years is 3-star players. Now that 200 plus 4 or 5-star players have reached out to Deion, I'm pretty sure he has this pick of the litter, and I'm cheering for him, man. You know, I'll say this, as someone who was recruited and someone who was a collegiate athlete, I wish the coaches that recruited me were as honest as Deion Sanders was to those kids. Instead of saying, yeah, you'll come play receiver, you'll be good, you'll do great here. You show up, they move you to linebacker or strong safety or this or that. There are a lot of salespeople out there that are trying to call themselves football coaches. Deion is not that dude. He's not about that mess. He runs a militarized camp. If you guys watched anything Jackson State related, he is serious when he says no hoodie, no cap, no earrings. You guys will all be uniformed. You'll all look the same. It's a standard. It's going to be that way at Colorado too. something they didn't have even back in the 90s when they were a national championship contending team. It's going to make them better people, better players. There's nothing wrong with discipline and uniformity, character. And I think Deion brings that in surplus, man. So I hope he hires a hell of a staff, because honestly, you can't expect him to just jump from Jackson State to Colorado and coach, 100 plus players into being contenders right away. You need help. And if this staff if Mike Zimmer's true, if this Sean Lewis out of Kent State is true, who ran that very efficient offense, if Willie Taggart is true, some of the assistants he brought over from Jackson State are true, man, I'm telling you. Terrence says basically Deion is going to turn men into fully grown men. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that. Colorado to the Big 12, possibly. Terrence says BYU to the Big 12 is one thing, but Colorado makes sense. They used to be in the Big 12. They should have never left. They did because Texas and Oklahoma had their run of the money there, with the Longhorn Network and all that garbage. That's why Nebraska left too, went to the Big 10. If Nebraska didn't leave the Big 12, they'd still be relevant. Honestly. Because the Big 12 isn't as tough as Big 10. It's big boy football up there. So that's my spiel. I love the playoff. I think the teams that made it, I'll say it like I said on Sunday, I believe that the committee made the right choice because it was the safe choice. But I do not believe that the 4 best teams in college football made it. So just for folks listening, number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Michigan. Number 3, TCU. Number 4, Ohio State. I think we will eventually see a national title game of Georgia, Michigan, which is fantastic. It's great. And it's going to be bully ball. It's going to be monsters in the trenches. It sounds like Michigan's got a bone to pick. I still think Georgia's way too damn good, but I'm not going to count out Michigan. And I'm cheering for Jim Harbaugh after all the crap that he had to deal with the Michigan faithful and that staff, making him take a pay cut because he hadn't beat Ohio State yet. He's in his 8th year. Here's something you guys didn't know. Maybe didn't know. I'm not sure. It took Dabo Swinney a while to build up that Clemson program. In his 7th year, he was able to get Trevor Lawrence. In his 7th year, he was able to do some things like get to a BCS Bowl or a New Year's Day Bowl. In his 8th year, he had Trevor Lawrence, and they went 15-0. In 7 years, Dabo Swinney won 67 games at Clemson. Dabo is considered to be one of the best coaches in the country. Jim Harbaugh, meanwhile, gets a ton of shit, right? Nonstop. Said he's a pro coach. He's not doing enough at Michigan. In Jim Harbaugh's first 7 years, he won 71 games. That's 4 more wins than Dabo Swinney. He's now in his 8th year. He's undefeated, 2nd straight playoff game. And honestly, if he wins, there's no way in my mind you guys can't say that Jim Harbaugh is not a better coach than Dabo Swinney. Especially the way he did it. Dabo didn't have to turn around a crap team. Clemson wasn't that bad. Michigan was horrible after the Brady Hoke situation. So I give him a ton of credit. I'm cheering for Jim Harbaugh to get a ring. Not so much Michigan, but Jim Harbaugh for sure. I'd love to see the Harbaugh bros both have some hardware. That would be awesome. We're going to go to break. When we get back, we're going to dive into the Golden Knights for a brief period, and then we're going to talk about Victory Tuesday for our Raiders here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
PG, set, hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Yeah, we're back, folks. Back from break. Back for another edition of the Sin City Sports Show. Second half of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're back at it again, folks. Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Spreaker. You guys know where to find us. Make sure you guys are looking at our socials at SinCity_IESR, right? Twitter, at Cale_Henderson. You guys can chime into those. I post clips of Raiders games on a consistent basis, folks. I will give you guys the meat and potatoes of what I think are great and what are bad. So far, it's been more great than bad because I want to try and stay as optimistic as I can, especially while they're on a 3-game win streak. Victory Tuesday, baby. Victory Tuesday. That's what we love here in Raider Nation. Victory Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, IE Vegas. We love it. Oh, yeah. Raiders defeat the Chargers 27-20. And honestly, guys, if we're being real, if it wasn't for that pick six, this game wasn't close. This game wasn't close. The defense played really well. It was like the first game the defense has caused more than a couple turnovers. It's one of the first times in a long time the defense has allowed less than 20 points, right? 20 points or less. Huge deal. But they did allow less than 20 points because, again, Derek Carr threw that pick six. Therefore, hey, defense only allowed 13 points. That's crazy. If that happens consistently throughout the rest of the season, I promise you guys the Raiders will make a deep postseason run. And I'm not trying to talk crazy. I'm just being real with it. They have found out their identity. They are going to play bully ball. They don't have the best offensive line. They know it. But they have Josh Jacobs. They have Zamir White. They don't use Zamir White very often, but they should. One of the best play-action teams in the game. They have the best wide receiver in the game, Devontae Adams, who right now at this time has over 1,100 yards, actually almost 1,200. He's just a few yards shy of 1,200 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns on the season. Our quarterback, 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the season. He's taking care of the football. We really haven't seen as many fumbles this year. This team's trending in the right direction, and most importantly, folks, we're going into a game this Thursday night on Prime Video, as you guys know, because that's where Thursday night games play, on Prime Video against the Rams in the LA Coliseum, or not the LA Coliseum, I should say, the new LA Stadium, right? SoFi Stadium, for that matter. We're playing a beat-up LA Rams team who just signed Baker Mayfield off the streets. Aaron Donald, from my understanding, is hurt. He likely won't play in this game. If I were the Los Angeles Rams, I would be saving those players because with 9 losses, you are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs anyway. Taryn Rodriguez said, I never thought I'd see the day the Raiders would come back from losing to Jeff Saturday and put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. But like I said, their sub 500 is not indicative of who they are. That's 100% correct. I have no problem with saying if Chucky's still here, I think the Raiders are a winning team. I think they're a 3-loss team maybe, if that. They're vying for a number 1 seed. Chucky isn't here. They're getting used to a new scheme. I stand by what I said 3 weeks ago. I thought that Josh McDaniels should have been fired, right? There was not much good to call for at that time, and I was really surprised he kept his job. Kudos to Mark Davis for being patient and not listening to folks and giving Josh McDaniels a chance, because it does sound like the team is behind him, even though we just don't hear much. Because when it comes to that Patriot way, you just don't hear much about what goes on in the team. And that's okay. That's okay, but sometimes it's good to know. It's good to get a good feeling, especially in the first year. But as you can see, man, the schemes are starting to take hold. What's scary is the Raiders' defense. They really only have 2 or 3 good players, one elite one, 2 or 3 good players. And the rest of that defense is not good, man. It's not good, and they're still playing pretty well the last couple weeks. That's something I need folks to understand. If the Raiders defense can hold people to around 20 to 24 points, I think that this Raiders team, with the way the offense is starting to play, and most importantly, Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller will be back in the next week or so. They are cleared to play this week. It does sound like Waller might sit one more week because it is against the Rams team that is beat up. With the recipe that the Raiders have been following, we probably don't need them for this week. It would be nice to see Renfrow get back because I do believe Derek needs an extra presence in that receiving core. Although I like what Matt Collins has been doing, he still sometimes looks absolutely lost out there. He doesn't know where to find the open space, and he's not very quarterback friendly, in my opinion. But when he does make plays, when he does get open, he does make plays, and he runs the right route, the guy is electric. Honestly, he's been an excellent signing. Matt Collins has been an underrated signing. And dude, for real though, I'll say this: Matt Collins is one of the better blocking receivers I've seen in a long time. They use him a lot in the run game. Those big runs by Josh Jacobs the last 2 weeks, that 86-yarder, that 20-yarder against the Chargers, Matt Collins legitimately climbs directly to the safety because they know that corner is not going to come down and make a tackle right away on Josh Jacobs. So what they tell him to do is motion in, and he goes straight to that strong safety on that side of the ball. And it helped a ton, man. It helped spring Josh multiple times. I think that's genius. That's excellent play design. And it's something that we were hoping for at the beginning of the year, right? Let's be real. This Raiders team, like Taryn said, they were up 3 scores to the Arizona Cardinals, lost. They should have won that game. I don't think they should have beaten the Chargers. I don't think they should have beaten the Saints. But there are multiple games this season. For example, Cardinals, they were up 20-0 at half, lost. Chiefs, up 20-10 at half, lost. At one point, we're up 20-3. The defense just started being the Raiders' defense and allowed them to score. Raiders scored 29 points, and if you guys remember, Josh McDaniels elected to go for 2 instead of just tying the game up with 4.5 minutes left. That should have probably been a win. Even though they're the Chiefs, it should have been a win, man. That's crazy to me. They were up against the Jaguars. Jaguars came back, right? Up against the Colts. Colts came back. Guys, those are 4 games right there that they should have won. They win those 4 games, and you're looking at a 9-2 team. 9-3 team. The margin of error in the NFL is crazy. Crazy small. This team still needs to add players. No doubt. And they'll have 12 draft picks to do it, $40 million in cap space to do it. But right now they need to figure out how to get their boys back healthy, impact players. I hear Raiders fans out there saying you should trade Waller in the offseason because he's been injured the last 2 years. That's tough for me, dude. Because Waller changes your offense. Waller changes the way the defenses play you. I would rather have a combination of Waller and Devontae Adams than Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow, to be fair. Not that Foster Moreau isn't good. He just drops a lot of balls where he needs to contest them, man, and get it. It's things that Darren Waller's great at. I think Darren Waller's more impactful than Hunter Renfrow. Respectfully. Terrence says SoFi Stadium in Allegiant South. Yeah, basically. Absolutely. When the Chargers host a game, there's more Raiders fans than Chargers fans. That's a fact. Every time they show it, it's crazy. But you guys have Justin Herbert and a lot of talent. So you've been able to edge us. Honestly, the last 2 years, you've edged us out on there. But when you guys come to Allegiant, we seem to just boat race you guys. Punch you in the face. I still think you guys have a more talented team than the Raiders. For some reason, the last 2 years, the Raiders have been able to punch the Chargers in the face. Terrence says it's a big thing, the Chargers game that the Raiders did last week. They didn't allow the Chargers to record a sack. I understand Bosa didn't play, but the Raiders O-line deserves some credit. They do. I'll say this, man. They've definitely improved. They're still really bad in the middle. I think the tackles played flawlessly, man. Like, Mack was not a problem at all. Khalil Mack was not an issue. We didn't hear from him basically the whole game. And that's what you guys traded that dude for. I think he's probably starting to get to that back half of his career. But Khalil Mack, yeah. I don't know. It is what it is. Boy, I get that you need to give up something to get something in a trade, but trading Waller feels like a mistake. At least I'd be selling low on him after the season. 100%. I think you could trade Hunter Renfrow for a 3rd round pick. I think that's reasonable. And I think that 3rd round pick would turn into a starter on the offensive or defensive line right away. I would rather give up if they needed to free up cap space. For example, Hunter and Darren, I think, are both going to be hovering around $15, $16 million next year. If I had to give up cap space, I'm giving up Hunter. I'm not giving up Darren. No. I'm signing Foster Moreau to a team favorable deal as long as he doesn't go somewhere else. I'm signing him to a team favorable deal, team friendly deal, and I'm making sure he's there to back up just in case something happens. But If I'm the Raiders, I'm drafting a tight end at a decent spot, for one, developing that guy, kind of like the Patriots used to do all those years, because obviously with Darren injury issues, we need to make sure we have insurance. Signing Moreau, because you can trust him. He's an excellent blocker. But I'm not giving up Waller. He's too game breaking, man. And a 50 to 80% Darren Waller is still better than 95% of the tight ends in this league. Because as long as he can still run 4.6 instead of the 4.40 that he can run, I'm taking that dude, man. There's not a lot of people who can cover him. So if he's back and he's healthy, I'm good for it. But it sounds like he might be waiting until the Patriots game next week, which I'm not against it because the Rams are beat up. I would like to see Hunter Renfrow this week, though. We need to start seeing some reps from him. If we don't, again, I think this offseason, that would be a good time to move him. A really good time to move him. And honestly, whatever you save, cap space you save with Hunter Renfrow, let's say you save $16 million. Well, that's either $16 million more you can put in free agency, or that's, a good portion of that goes to Josh Jacobs. I don't pay running backs. I wouldn't pay running backs, but Josh Jacobs has definitely earned it. If the Raiders said, I'm going to pay Josh Jacobs, I'm not going to be against it, okay? I'm not going to say no. I just know in today's society or today's NFL, you can draft a bunch of backs, okay? Look at what Chuba Hubbard's doing in Carolina. He's playing really well, right? Breece Hall was drafted in the second, and then they drafted, you're going to have to forgive me, man, but he's killing it, Xavier Knight out of NC State, someone who I thought the Raiders should have gotten in late in the rounds, but they decided to go with Zamir White. Xavier Knight's killing it for the Jets too. What I'm saying is you guys can get starting caliber backs in the draft. Teams can get starting caliber backs in the draft every single year. Are they as good as Josh Jacobs? No. But will they last longer if you continue to rotate them? Yes. And I'm kind of worried because it seems like Josh McDaniels and this staff just do not want to rotate backs with Jacobs. Jacobs has taken 25 plus carries a game. And sooner or later that's going to wear on you, man. And again, he's always had injury issues. He's always had tweaks. Is he tough? Yes. But running back is a short lifespan, man. So I'm having a hard time with that. Taryn Rodriguez chimes in and says, now the Chargers are on the other hand. Herbert got sacked 5 times, which is and it should have been 6.5 if we're being honest, Taryn, because that was a sack fumble by Max Crosby in that first play. But because it rolled past the line of scrimmage, they didn't count it a fumble, which makes no sense at all. It should have been 6.5 sacks in that game, because Crosby should have had a sack and a half for that sack fumble. But yes, the Raiders D-line was playing like a monster, and honestly, Jerry Tillery, who you guys just kind of gave up on waivers that the Raiders picked up, he's been destroying offensive lines since we picked him up from the Chargers. So I don't know what happened there, dude. I don't know. Maybe he needed motivation. I don't know. But he mopped you guys the other day. He mopped you guys really bad. Adam Karnick says, you can go find starting caliber backs, undrafted free agent route. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I don't know why he's blanking all of a sudden, but the Raiders had a third down back for a long time. He was an undrafted free agent. His very first year, he took it yard against the Saints, and everybody kind of went on notice. Rocket Rich is what we used to call him. Jalen Richard. He was an excellent third down back, great out of the backfield, great hands, excellent third down blocking back. I mean, dude, seriously. Kept Derek Carr clean a lot. We miss him. Terrence says, everyone's saying pay Jacobs, but I'm remembering what you said about running backs. Dude, 100%. Again, if the Raiders decided to pay Jacobs, and it's reasonable, it's like $8 to $10 million a year, I'm okay with that because he's earned his payday. I believe if you in this world earn something, you should get it. What I am trying to say is I think some other dumbass team should pay him that money because he's a running back. He's probably only going to have two or three good years. And I don't want to be stuck in that big-ass contract. That's crazy. That's not good for the Raiders. Continue to draft backs. There are a ton of studs in college football every year that go unnoticed that could easily run behind what is a really good offensive line. Tillery had locker room issues with the Chargers from what I heard. Yeah, he's been a Saint since he's been a Raider, so it's just kind of hard to believe is what I'm trying to say. Like, Josh McDaniels and them Patriot boys that came over, they've said nothing but great things about Jerry Tillery. So, and he's been killing it, man. He's really produced. He's helped the defensive line for the Raiders a ton. The other thing we talk about when we talk about those 5 sacks, Chandler Jones had 3 of them. Chandler Jones had half a sack for basically 9 games. Yesterday he showed up with 3 sacks. I hope he just had injuries and now he's coming on and he's going to help Max because, dude, I'm telling you, Max deserved a sack. That should have been a sack fumble, I swear. I mean it. Just because the ball rolled past the line of scrimmage does not mean it wasn't a sack fumble because dude hit that ball out of Herbert's hands. So if we're being real, there should have been 6.5 sacks in that game. But the Raiders' defense is still really bad statistically when it comes to sacks, really bad statistically when it comes to turnovers. They're still averaging, still allowing 25 points a game even after that excellent game last week. They have to continue on the right foot. If they can be a top 10, top 15, top 10 defense the remaining 6 games, this is 100% a playoff team, and it's a team that can make some noise. Because I don't think there's a team in this league with Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow coming back, Devontae Adams as great as he's looked, and Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr the way they've looked. I don't think there's a team in this league that wants to play this Raiders team. For real. But it's important. Again, I think Hunter Renfrow needs to get his snaps. He needs to get it this week. Get him in there. Even if it's a snap count like 10 plays. Get him some catches, man. On 10 plays, try and target him. The rest of the guys have done a really good job the last 8 games of really starting to get comfortable with this offense. Obviously, this offense is really hard. It's difficult. We've talked about it. They call it the Earhart-Perkins offense. The idea with this offense is to power run game, right, which is something Raiders do very much of, and you should be able to run passing concept, like almost 20 passing concepts out of 5 or 6 different formations anywhere on the field, right? 5 or different 6 formations. It's just kind of how that works. And it's tough because you have to get used to running those concepts in space. That's something Tom Brady and the Patriots did for years. And then backs out of the backfield. That's something I give a ton of credit to this coaching staff that we haven't seen a lot of in Raiders history. The design screens to backs, the actual routes out of the backfield for backs have been phenomenal this year. I'd like to see us take advantage of more, but again, I'm not upset that Derek is throwing more picks this year because he has thrown the ball deep. And that's what Derek Carr is good at. That is when the Raiders are the best, is when Derek Carr is throwing the ball deep. Those deep crossing routes, those deep out routes, dude, I'm telling you. Derek has looked on fire. His pocket presence has been very nice. Make sure you guys are looking at our Twitter, at SinCity_IESR. I posted a clip just a couple days ago. It was a pass. It was a deep in to Devontae Adams, about 12-yard into Devontae Adams. Adams had a defensive back draped on his back, dude, and Derek couldn't have thrown a better ball. His pocket movement, because the camera view was legitimately behind him. His pocket movement with a rusher coming in and an offensive lineman pushing him out of the way, stepping up into the pocket was just something of beauty. And these are the types of gems that I like to post at least 1 or 2 of those a week from games. I hope you guys get a chance to take a look at that because it is very impressive. This offense is finally starting to find itself. The defensive line is finally starting to find the quarterback. The defense is forcing fumbles. Austin Eckler, right? So, again, the Chargers aren't very good. We get it. They're injured. Not great. But the rest of the schedule, and this is how we'll close the show here. Here's the rest of the schedule for the Raiders. The remaining schedule for the Las Vegas Raiders. They have the Rams this Thursday night. They will get a 10-day break and play the Patriots, which was going to be a Sunday Night Football game, but has now been flexed down to, I think, a 1 o'clock game in Foxborough. They will be playing the Patriots in Foxborough, or not Foxborough, I should say, but you get what I'm saying, in Boston, in New England, 1 o'clock next Sunday. New England's not very good. Not very good. I don't think their offense can't score points. Mac Jones is not the problem. I think he gets way too much crap. Right now they have a former Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator calling offensive plays. It's super weird. Play the Patriots. After that, they play the Steelers, who aren't the team they normally are, right? Kenny Pickett's starting to show some signs of life, but he's still not that good. Then you're playing the Niners without Jimmy G. I'm not into this whole Brock Purdy nonsense, but the Niners still have a really good defense, so that could be a barn burner. Or not a barn burner, but a slugfest. And then you finish up at home against the reigning division champs, the Chiefs, who I think will be either playing for the number 1 seed or they'll be resting their guys because they know who they want to play the following week. If I'm the Chiefs, I don't want to play the Raiders 2 weeks in a row. Right now, if the Raiders win out, there's a possibility they are the 5th or 6th seed. Okay? The Chiefs at the 2nd seed right now, as long as the Buffalo Bills don't drop another one, the Chiefs at the 2nd seed would play the 7th. If I'm the Chiefs, I don't want to beat the Raiders and then turn around and play them again. That doesn't make any sense at all, right? If I'm the Chiefs, I'm sitting my starters because you're thinking Super Bowl. You're not thinking anything else. I don't think the Raiders play the Chiefs starters very much in Week 18. I could be wrong because Andy Reid and those guys, it's a rivalry between the two teams. I get it. And it was really close that last game in Kansas City. This one would be in Raiders Stadium, Allegiant Stadium. I just think the Raiders are going to be fired up. They're going to want to make the playoffs. It's almost a win-out type situation or bust. But I do believe that the Raiders have a good chance because the remaining teams are not very good. If they continue this run, if they win 5 more games, you're looking at a team that will be 10-7, probably the 5th or 6th seed. And that matters because that's a playoff berth. 100% a playoff berth. And you'll take that. In Josh McDaniels' first year, you'll take a playoff berth. Yes, it's returning to 10-7, but you saw growth, and we're seeing growth. But they have to continue to do that the remainder of the year against teams that aren't very good. And one of the things I really would like to see the Raiders focus on as we're closing out the show here, one of the things I would love to see the Raiders focus on is finishing a team. Finish the team, man. If you're up, put your foot on the gas and finish the team. I think the Raiders have had a hard time doing that this year. They really have. It's a habitual thing, and that's coaching, right? But this team really needs to learn to finish games. I think if the Raiders would have scored a touchdown instead of kicked a field goal there, I mean, there would have been no shot, right? We're looking at 31-0 or 31-20 instead of 27-20. It's just out of reach. It is what it is. We have to be realistic about that situation. The Raiders have to do a better job of finishing games. If you are up a score in the 4th quarter with 5 minutes left and you have the ball, quit playing conservative. Put the ball in the end zone. Put the game away because the NFL isn't about that, man. If you want to be a good football team, you have to finish games. Period. Taryn says the Patriots, the Niners, the Chiefs games are all 50-50 to me. Raiders' schedule is very favorable. It is. And we talked about that at the beginning of the season. I do think the Patriots and Niners are very winnable games. The Chiefs are always iffy. I don't know what their plan is. Again, sit your starters, think about a Super Bowl, or get bludgeoned by the Raiders before going into a game where you could be playing a tough 7-seed team. You don't know. You don't know. I just think the smart move would be to go the other direction. So, as you folks know, man, I'm a Raiders. I love the Raiders. I'm objective. I'm saying how it is. They're on a run. They play the Rams this upcoming Thursday, 7 p.m. or 7:15 p.m. That'll be in SoFi Stadium Thursday night on Prime Video. Make sure you guys get a chance to look at that. Keep an eye out for @SinCity_IESR, where I post little videos or highlights or plays that I think were really key factors to winning football games. Things of beauty, by the way. Make sure you guys like, share, comment, follow that account. It costs you no time, costs you no money, right? Get it done. Support the channel. As always, folks, this is IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Love, peace, and hair grease, baby.